Now we're going to move from sleek and contemporary to completely old school retro. This recipe is called Chremslach, and if you look on the internet, you'll see a lot of recipes with that name, but not one of them is going to be the same recipe. Pretty much the only thing they have in common is that they're all pancakes of one type or another. And I have never seen one quite like this, aside from my Aunt Frances. But it's absolutely delicious, and for me, this is the taste of Passover. And I always like shaking things up with new things during the Seder, but it's really important to me to have something old that reminds me of family. So we're going to start by soaking our matzahs. And keep in mind, I'm only doing half the recipe because not only am I an empty nester this year for the first time, it's just myself and my husband, and we just plain don't need all this food. So keep in mind, while all these recipes are written to serve a large traditional Seder crowd, you can cut them down to suit yourself. So just going to put the matzahs in a bowl and cover them with water until they start getting pliable and soft, but not disintegrating yet. All right, I drained the matzah, and now we're going to squeeze it out. So it's very soft, but it hasn't started falling apart yet. So we're just going to, okay, there's really no water to squeeze out. That's fine. Just going to toss it right in the mixer bowl. Don't have to do anything to it. And remembering again that I'm doing half recipe, so I'm going to add the remaining ingredients. In this case, it's a half a cup of sugar, a half a cup of matzah meal, a quarter teaspoon of table salt, and although I know I've said I always use kosher salt, I usually use it, this time the recipe specified table salt, so that is what I'm going to use because it does measure differently by volume, not by weight, but by volume. And the eggs. Now I want to show you how you divide odd numbers of eggs. So the full recipe here is 5 eggs. I only need 2.5. What's half an egg? This is a lot easier than you would think, especially if you have a scale. So 2 eggs, obviously. And then the half egg, okay, simple. I crack my egg into a little mixing bowl. Remember I said that you can assume that an egg is 50 grams? Not exactly, but close enough to work with. So what we do here is we just beat up the egg and pour off 25 grams into another container. Notice different size, so I have to tare the weight first. And we're just going to pour about 25 grams in. All right, not quite, but I'm going to lose some in the bowl anyhow. See, there you go. And then you can use that other egg to bread something. You can make yourself a small breakfast sandwich, whatever works for you. I'm going to put that on the mixer and just let that heat up a little bit until everything's mixed together. The mixer takes care of breaking up the matzah for you. So this is more or less what your mixture should look like when it's ready to go. The matzah is in irregular chunks, some large, some small. More large than small, that's what you want. This is not matzah meal pancakes. I've had some oil heating up while we were talking. You're looking for about 350-ish. This is an infrared thermometer. If you have one, great. If you don't run out and buy one. But it's telling me I'm at 372, so I'm actually a little higher than what I need. But once I start putting the pancakes in there, it is going to go down. This is the other really important ingredient you need, a bowl of water. We're doing this all with our hands, and your hands are going to get breaded with matzah completely. So you want to keep working with wet hands. Next thing is cooked prunes. You can buy stewed prunes for Passover if you live somewhere that actually has good Passover sections, unlike me. What I did was I just took prunes from regular dried prunes and I simmered them with some strips of orange zest until they softened up and plumped. A lot of this is by feel, and there's nothing wrong with that. The more you do something, the more you get a feel for it. So and by the way, remember that you're working with wet hands, try to keep the water out of the oil, otherwise it's going to go everywhere. So I'm going to get my hands wet in the bowl of water. You're gonna take some of the dough and, you know, again, the size you go with is what you want. Pat it out a little. Take one of your prunes. Take a piece of walnut. The recipe says to put the walnuts in the prunes. I have never been able to make that work in my life. If you can do it, more power to you. But make a pancake of it. Try to get your prunes centered if you can. And fry. When you fry, put the item down away from you. That way, if the oil spatters, it doesn't spatter on you. It's easier to clean your stove than to clean yourself, and you don't get burned that way. And we're just going to keep right on doing that until we run out of the dough. You want to cook your pancakes until they're about, I don't know, until they look nice and golden brown on each side. If you need to add more water, oil, you go ahead and do that. You want to keep about a quarter-inch, half-inch. See, I got some water into the oil there. That's what happens. Don't do that. So yeah, you're looking for golden brown. This is just like making any other pancakes. And if you happen to be lucky enough to have children around the house and you're looking for something for them to do, this is a great thing to help with. I mean, come on, you're making delicious food and you're getting your hands really gross. What more fun could there be? This is the kind of color you're looking for, really good, solid brown. It's a wet mixture and you definitely want to make sure you get it cooked through. Okay, looks like the last two are just about done. This is where it gets fun. And it's very possible that my husband, who has never watched me make these before, is watching for the first time, will probably never eat Chremslach again after seeing what happens next. There probably should be a little bit more oil in this pan, but my husband is having some issues with it, so I decided not to add the extra. What we'll do here, I'm turning off the heat. The oil is still very hot. If you ever made teglach before, this is going to look familiar. Just add oil, honey. Just add honey. Generous amount. Stir it in. The heat from the oil is going to melt the honey till you get a nice syrup. I'll add a little more for fun. Okay. Once you've got that melted in, this is definitely where the fun part happens. Carefully, because remember, you've got oil and hot sugar here. This is like culinary napalm. Be careful. Take the whole thing and pour it over your Chremsles. Make sure they're all covered. If you need to flip them to get that to happen, go ahead and do that. Make sure you're using a rimmed baking sheet. That is extremely critical. I don't know about you, but I do not want to clean this off the floor. And you are just going to let your Chremslach sit in this syrup. When you're ready to serve, you can then take it out. See, it didn't get fully coated here, so I'm just going to flip it over to make sure it does. Take it out to serve. I've had a lot of luck here storing these in a Corningware baking dish in the syrup.